Hey everyone, this is Ben Thompson here with Pure Tinnitus. On this video, I want to share some experiences I had in the recent group coaching session we did. Every month, Pure Tinnitus group coaching meets, and what we do for an hour on Zoom video is pretty special. First 20 to 30 minutes, I teach a workshop typically about the fundamentals of retraining the brain with the neuroplasticity and the healthy brain changes that are needed to recover from tinnitus. This is a model that has been used for a while to help patients habituate or get better with tinnitus. And first stage of that is understanding how the system works. So a lot of the important progress is with the education. But the second part of each of the monthly group sessions we do is sharing. Each person shares how the information they just learned in the workshop relates to their story. And they can also give an update on how they're doing with their progress for their tinnitus. And last night's session was particularly important and inspiring, and I wanted to share that. What I've learned over time is that when we hear a tinnitus success story, we need to analyze it a little bit to understand what point in the timeline is that person on their journey to report that they're actually better. Is it a sustained benefit, or is it a temporary mention that they're feeling better on a certain day? So one takeaway I have from the success stories that were coming through last night is that I do not want to publicize and interview one of my patients that I've been working with on my channel unless they are 6 months into a therapy plan, to a treatment plan. And this is also important for research when we're analyzing research for different products that help tinnitus, whether that's bimodal stimulation, certain kinds of drugs, therapy, whatever it is. If someone is sustained better at 6 months after starting the therapy, that's much more significant than if after 2 weeks or after a month or 2 months, someone says, I hear silence, or someone says, oh, I'm feeling much better. There's a difference between a snapshot in time of someone perceiving themselves as feeling better versus sustained benefit long term. I, of course, enjoy hearing that people are better in the short term in a snapshot, but long term feeling better, long term reduction of the symptoms, uh, shifting the volume, the perception of tinnitus over long term period, that's more important to me. How much does it affect your life? What percentage of time is the tinnitus on your mind, that you're thinking about it, that it's bothering you, that it's taking away from other things in life you'd otherwise be doing? How much is it affecting your sleep? Do you have anxiety, stress, depression from your tinnitus? Those are all very relevant. So when I analyze someone's success, I say 6 months is the minimum for me to say, are your results sustained? Have you sustained this improvement? And when someone's working with me, what I want to show my audience here on YouTube is that this person started something about 6 months ago or longer, and this is where they're at now. That's more important, to get the right expectations for the timeline, not to expect any treatment, not to expect any person to dramatically change your tinnitus and the volume of it in a matter of months or weeks, but the volume changes, which a lot of people are after, or the perception, how much it's in your concentration, in your attention, that shifts more long term. So I wanted to make this video to share a few examples of why this is relevant, and also to introduce the likelihood that I will have some patients on my podcast here on the YouTube channel, and Apple Podcast, where my podcast also is, to share their own journey and their success story of working together with me with Pure Tinnitus and how they improved. Positive success stories are very important. A lot of the internet is full of negative stories about tinnitus. The online forums, the Facebook groups, they're full of people who are still struggling with tinnitus. Would you stay in an online forum or a tinnitus support group on Facebook if you got better from it? Very few people do. So keep that in mind. Sometimes people have a skewed reality that they think no one's better from this condition because online everyone's suffering. But if you can get better from tinnitus, I promise you won't want to stay on the online Facebook groups. You won't want to go on the online forums because there's no point of it. Tinnitus will be irrelevant and a neutral sensation for you. It'll be background. It won't matter as much. There are the occasional people who still want to go into those spaces and serve and volunteer their time, and that's great. Last night in the group coaching session, what we noticed is that, number one, someone shared their own personal story that they have been habituated for over 5 years. So that's great to meet someone who has done it and for them to tell you how it happened. Typically, there's no magic pill, there's no magic element as to how it happened or why it happened, but they followed the protocols, they did what was necessary, they had the right support, and they knew the timeline. And for them, it took a few years. My intention working with people is to induce habituation, make it happen faster, as fast as possible. The second share was from another gentleman in the group coaching, and he's been working with me for a few months. Overall, he has all the resources set up, and now it's a matter of sustaining the progress. He has hearing aids with sound therapy in them, and we're following the tinnitus retraining therapy protocols. He's considering he's considering supplemental therapies like massage, meditation, things to calm the central nervous system. And him and I are working every 2 to 4 weeks. We're meeting and we're working on the psychological element of this, discussing the fundamentals of what is tinnitus and where does the negative association come from with it. How can we deconstruct that? And over time, that has positive effects as well. The last individual that I'll share with you guys from the group coaching session last night, she shared that for her, when she first reached out to me about 3 months ago, she was in a very high anxiety, anxious, panic state, and that negatively affected her sleep. She hadn't really slept well in 2 months. And I was happy to hear at this group coaching session that she said that based on what we've been working on, managing her holistic, mental and physical health, as well as managing the tinnitus with sound therapy and devices, et cetera, everything that I teach, the tinnitus retraining therapy protocols, that now she's finally been able to sleep and she feels a lot better, and she's able to consider taking less of the medication that was given to her because of the anxiety and stress. So it's amazing to see the real change in people's lives. And I wanted to make this video to remind you that getting better with tinnitus is possible, that a success story with tinnitus is possible. It's out there, it's in the world. There are many of them, but oftentimes online, people who are still online focusing on tinnitus are not at that stage yet. And I wanted to explain that I've been offering packages of telehealth tinnitus work online for about 6 months. So right now I'm seeing, I've been able to work with people continuously for 6 months, which is the minimum that I recommend before we consider releasing a success story. And so now I'm individually seeing people working from beginning to near the plateau of how much better they can get. And I'm seeing the change. I'm seeing the rate of improvement. So in the next few months, you're likely to see some of the patients I've been working with here to walk you through how they got better and what they did. And the intention there for my patient to share their time and for me to share my time and bring this message to you guys is to inspire and remind you that getting better is possible, and to hopefully get inside the mind of someone who was in a position like you may be, of having loud, bothersome, annoying tinnitus that affects their stress, anxiety, their quality of life, their mental health, and how we can go from that state into a much healthier place where tinnitus is barely a problem in someone's life. It's still there, maybe, but it's not really a problem in their life. Most people still have tinnitus even after they've gone from bad tinnitus to much better, and it's not a problem in their life. It may still be a part of their life. It's very likely to still be in your awareness. You may hear it at times. So I wanted to just lay out this framework here and explain to you that be a little skeptical when you are hearing someone's success story online, and especially pay attention to the timeline. This also applies to research about tinnitus. Pay attention to the timeline of where they are at. Is it 2 weeks after starting something? Is it 2 months after starting something? Or because that's very different, that's a short-term change. Or is it a sustained benefit of 6 months, 12 months, 1.5 years, 2 years after the tinnitus became bad, and then they're saying they're much better? To me, that's a much more significant story to share. So I see a lot of comments coming in, and I see some great questions. I'll do my best to look those over. Please leave a comment on this video if you have any questions. I'll do my best to check them out. Big thank you to anyone who's watching this. And I'm here on this comfortable couch just to make this video and remind you guys that success stories are possible and they're out there. So have hope, have faith. And if you're interested in joining the group coaching program, check the link in the description. Thank you so much. Goodbye.